Mr. Acting Speaker, the 29th of November each year is commemorated as the International Day for Solidarity with the Palestinian People, as declared by the United Nations General Assembly in 1977. The day acknowledges that the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine has its origins in the Nakba, when approximately 700,000 Palestinians were either killed or forced from their homes as a result of the partitioning of Palestine by the United Nations in 1948. The conflict between Israel and Palestine continues to be unresolved, resulting in the loss of innocent lives. Most recently, the 1,200 Israeli lives taken by Hamas on the 7th of October 2023, and the over 40,000 lives taken by the State of Israel since that date. And more recently, the killing of over 3,700 Lebanese people. The world community has rightly condemned both Hamas and the State of Israel for the indiscriminate killing of civilians. I raise this matter, Mr. Speaker, because many South Australians of all backgrounds are concerned by the ongoing conflict and the humanitarian crisis in the region. And sadly, the situation in Palestine is worse today than it was 12 months ago when I spoke on this matter in this place. In the recent decisions made and opinions expressed by the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court and the United Nations Security Council regarding the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine, these international bodies have recognised that Article 1 of the Charter of the United Nations adopts the principle of equal rights and self-determination by all peoples. The ongoing illegal occupation and annexation of the Palestinian territory is a significant barrier to finding a lasting peace in Israel-Palestine conflict and contrary to international law. International humanitarian law must be observed by all state and non-state actors in times of both conflict and peace, and they should be held accountable by the international community when such standards are not upheld. And quite rightly, the human rights abuses committed by both Hamas and the State of Israel will be investigated by independent international tribunals. Mr. Speaker, Palestinian people in the occupied territories continue to live under oppressive conditions and are subject to ongoing violence by settlers whose behaviour appears to be sanctioned by the State of Israel. Pro-Palestinian advocacy, when based on humanitarian norms, should not be interpreted as anti-Semitism and be used to shut down legitimate debate about Israel's response to the Hamas attack on the 7th of October 2023. Mr. Speaker, all forms of racism are not acceptable, irrespective of the person or group experiencing it. All racism attacks the dignity of human beings. Equally, Mr. Speaker, no human life should be considered more important than another. That in itself is a form of racism by implying inherent humanity of one person is less than another. That concept, Mr. Speaker, offends my faith. Mr. Speaker, it goes without saying that both the Israeli and Palestinian people have the right to live in equality and peace, free from violence and oppression, and be able to enjoy prosperous lives within internationally recognised borders alongside their Arab neighbours. While it's understandable that many people in Australia believe our federal government should be doing more, we should acknowledge that the federal Labor government has acted to reverse the decision of the Morrison coalition government to recognise West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and reaffirm the commitment to Australia's embassy remaining in Tel Aviv, reinstated occupied Palestinian territories as the official term to refer to those areas in East Jerusalem and Gaza which have been occupied by Israel since 1967, resulted in Australia voting in favour of the United Nations General Assembly motion to express the General Assembly's aspiration for full Palestinian membership of the United Nations, and more recently voted to recognise the permanent sovereignty of the Palestinian people in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, over their natural resources. The federal Labor government should continue to actively promote measures to end the conflict between Israel and Palestine on the basis of relevant UN resolutions and international law, work with humanitarian organisations to provide humanitarian assistance and support for civilians affected by the conflict, and build a coalition for peace for the Israel-Palestine conflict. And in my opinion, Mr. Speaker, federal government should also acknowledge the Palestinians' right to immediate statehood and give effect to the decisions of International Court of Justice and International Criminal Court regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict. Mr. Speaker, we should all mourn the senseless loss of life in this conflict and believe that the killing of innocent civilians, and in particular women and children, can never be justified. An immediate, permanent ceasefire respecting the interests of all parties to this conflict is the only way to end the suffering of Palestinian people. Palestinian people. Once it's achieved, Mr. Speaker, we can start the task of rebuilding the Palestinian nation.